we're going to build on our practice now without using horizon lines and vanishing points, and try and draw lots and lots of cubes to start off with, and then create all of the cubes that we've drawn in different ways and really enhance our creating skills now. So starting off nice and quickly, don't give yourself too long per sketch. It's all about creating ideas. It's not about creating really wonderful pieces of art. The beauty of a page will come from laying out your cubes nicely and actually developing these ideas in perspective over the course of the page and telling that story on the page, and that's what makes them look really nice. So if we start with our front edge, the top and the bottom, remember they've got to converge slightly. I'm just going to chop that off while I'm on that side. Then the top and the bottom on the other side as well, converging very slightly, and chop it off. And try and repeat this lots and lots all over the page now. So I'm going to try and create very quickly about 9 cubes, maybe a few more if I can fit them on. I'll aim for 9 and then we know where we're heading, okay? So front edge, converging on the sides, and chop them off. And if they're not quite perfect, they don't converge perfectly, don't worry too much. Just don't have them getting further apart, because that's where the drawing can look really awful. Okay, so they're converging very slightly, rotating your page around, make it comfortable, make it easy for you to draw. And remember, just following that same process for every single cube. Front edge, top, bottom, chop it off. Top, bottom, checking that they're converging, chop them off, and finish the top on the opposite sides. And we'll just keep going and keep going. So yes, this first bit is a little bit monotonous, but you'll see at the end it's well worth it, because whenever we're creating, we're starting with very basic cubes and cuboids, which we're then adding the complexity into through our design developments, through using our creating methods. And I know we've looked at it, but when we looked at it before now, we were using the horizon lines. And to improve our drawings, we want to be able to sketch in 2-point perspective without having to draw a new horizon line and new vanishing points every single time. So you can see we're getting our page now fairly full of all of these cubes. So we're actually up to 9, but I've still got space. On a design page, white space is always a bit of a killer. We don't want white space. It doesn't lend itself to a good looking page of work. Okay, so you can see now that's not a very nice vertical edge, so I'll just fix that. I'm not rubbing out, I'm not wasting my time. We have a big range of cuboids that we're going to go ahead and start creating. So we'll just do every single cube created in a different way, so that we're exploring lots and lots of skills. And we're still looking at quite simplistic versions of creating. We're keeping everything quite angular. We're not going to look at curves. We'll look at that in the future. So on this first one, let's recap doing our L, but we're going to do it back to front. So the L is going to be on this side. So firstly, I'm going to split it in half and half again. Okay, so you can see that the L is going to be made up of these 3 squares. Where they cross or intersect, where they create a corner, we're going to project the other way. So we're going diagonally through, making sure we're going towards that imaginary vanishing point, and it's the same on this point, which actually overlaps with the other line that already exists. Where it crosses on the back, we're doing the same as we did on the front. So coming down on there, and this one going to this imaginary vanishing point at the back. And then just very quickly, you can add your thick line to it. So using our thick and thin line technique, we can make that shape stand out quite nicely. And you can see now the L that we've created. The next one, we're going to create a U shape. So we're just going to split this side as we want. So 2 vertical lines and a line across the middle, making sure we're going to that imaginary vanishing point. Where we've got the corners, we're going to project it through. So following that diagonal, following the other diagonal, and this one coming through there as well, and it actually overlaps. And then where they touch, we'll just project that down. Remember, we don't do this corner because we can't see it. We can't see through the side. Quickly add your thick and thin lines to enhance the drawing, and there will be 1 extra line here as well. So as we're going around the outer edges, then the extra lines just come in that part of the U. So we can see that we're creating these more complex shapes now using our creating method. This next one, we're going to make it into a bit of a staircase. So we're going to split it into 3 sections going this way and 3 sections coming down. And the lines that we want are here. And now there's the same rules again. Wherever there's a corner, we're going to project it through. So we've got a diagonal line here, diagonal line there, and we keep going with these diagonals following the point to that imaginary vanishing point at the top. Where it's hitting the side here, we're going to project that down. and where it's hitting here, we're going to go to this imaginary vanishing point, okay? And we can see now that quite simply we've finished those lines in there. And we'll just add our thick lines again to the outside. It's quite a simple shape where we've added the detail, so there's no additional thick lines in the centre, okay? So we're starting to create these more complex shapes, and I'm going to now have a go at this side here, and I'm just going to cut away a square or a cube from this corner. So actually on this side, I'm going to split it in half and half, half and half on this side, and I'm going to do the same on the top, half and half, and the cube that I want to cut out is there. So I'm just going to darken these edges because they're the ones I want to keep. Okay. Remember, all these lines go to our imaginary vanishing points. Where we've created corners, we need to go again to the imaginary vanishing point, and down. And then if we just darken up the bits we want to keep now, using our thick and thin line technique, you can see we've taken that corner away. Doesn't help when you just break your lead, does it? Just darken those up, and if you've got a rubber on this type of shape, you might want to just rub a few lines out where I've gone too dark with my construction lines. But you can see we can create almost any shape. So now we're going to put a hole through the next one. So don't give yourself too much time to think about how you're creating them or the next shape, just jump straight into it. So we're going to put a line down the edges, just a small border on all of them, and I'm keeping them because they're so close together. I'm just focusing on keeping them fairly parallel. When lines get so close, as long as they're not getting further apart, actually if you keep them parallel it will look overall like they are converging, and this one is going to our imaginary vanishing point over on this side. So draw your ghost lines where them lines are a bit longer, then darken that up, and we can see that we're now creating quite an interesting range of shapes, okay? The next one we're going to do very similar, but instead of it going all the way through, the hole's going to be a bit shallower. So if we draw them lines in again, little borders down the edges, borders down this side, and then we'll darken that middle up because that's the bit we want to keep. We're going to project it through, but we're only going to go part of the way, okay? So from there, we're going to draw our vertical line in, and then we're going to draw our diagonal line there. So you can see now that it stops, okay? It's a little bit more complicated, but it seems to work quite nicely. Darken those outer lines, add these thick and thin lines. Always do that at the end of your drawing, don't try and do it midway through. Okay, and you can see our shapes are getting more complicated. What we're going to do now is some more angled shapes, so not ones that particularly follow all of the rules of only lines that go to the vanishing points or lines that are vertical. We're going to create more angled. So say on this shape, we want to cut the corner off, so we're creating a chamfered angle. We'll draw what we want that to look like on this side, okay? Where it crosses, we're then going to take that to the imaginary vanishing point. Okay, and then this part here is going to be an exact replica of this part. So we're just joining those two up. And now if we darken the edges of our shape, you can see that we've just created that chamfered corner. Okay, the next one then, let's create a triangle that's going straight through. So we're going to find the centre, nice and vertical, and then we're going to join the corners down here to that point where it crosses. That's going to be the shape of our triangle. Okay, we're then going to project that through to our imaginary vanishing point, and then from this corner to that point we'll join just like it did on this side. And then we can see once we darken up the edges that we want to keep, that we've got that triangle going through. Okay, we're now going to try some more complex versions of this as well. So let's say we want to chamfer this back end. We're just going to create that through. This part will go through to the back, and then actually this is where the shape looks a little bit odd, because this part you wouldn't see. So there's no more detail in that, we just chopped that back corner off. And then say we want to cut an angle out of the bottom here, we can draw it on the side. This line's going to, that one was vertical, this one will go to our imaginary vanishing point, and then we'll project that through to the other imaginary vanishing points. Okay, so you can see that shape's getting more and more complex, and we can just darken the outline of that now to show off the shape that we're finishing with. So it does get quite tricky as you make these shapes more and more complicated. The last one then, we're going to add some angles and some other cuts away and a hole as well. So a really complex shape to finish. So let's cut away an angle off the front here. So we're just cutting a straight angle off. Where it crosses, we'll project it through to our imaginary vanishing point and then draw the next straight line in as well. So we've got that to start with. We're then going to do a cut away from here, so a vertical line and a line through. So we're cutting that corner away, and then we'll put a hole in this section here. Okay, but that hole is only going to go a very slight depth. Okay, so we're projecting everything through to our imaginary vanishing points, and then we'll darken up that outline. And you can see very quickly now we've created a wide range of shapes that have some complexity, use crating, and we haven't used a single horizon line or vanishing point across the whole set of shapes. Take your time creating these, because this practice will really help your own design creation and your ideation moving forward. Good luck.